Well, another year has come and gone. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and I'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year as well. Today's December 30th, so I figured I would finish up the year by doing a little, I guess, update on the inventory situation or the collection situation. And I also would like to highlight a couple of items that I've got for sale here going into the new year. If you guys haven't been able to tell from the content I've been putting out of my YouTube videos the last year or so, my interest in the tractor hobby has kind of shifted. I've moved up from garden tractors into the bigger vegetable tractors and, you know, oddball models, kind of like the Super AV you see here. And I've also been focusing more heavily on restoring the old John Deere 60, which I will be making an update video on that project, just not quite yet. So my interests have changed, and as such, it's time to move some of my old inventory along. I've kind of accumulated a lot of parts and a lot of equipment here that it's all served its purpose, but time to let some stuff go and free up some space. And I mean, let's be honest here, I'm renting this piece of land here, so I'm limited to what I can keep around the yard here, so I want to try and tidy things up a little bit. So I'll give you a walkthrough of some of the items I'm looking to sell. So the first one here is the old Ford 340A, my old reliable. I honestly hate to get rid of this tractor, but it served its purpose. I mean, you know, I said it in the past, but a little compact utility tractor wasn't going to be enough for moving heavy tractor carcasses in and out of the building here. And the 60 especially, that thing, you know, that thing's such a brute. I didn't think a compact would be able to handle it. They just didn't have the weight or the loader capacity. So I bought this 340A to do the job, and it served me well doing just that. And I've used it for other little odd jobs here and there. I've used it for loading and unloading my truck, moving compost around the yard. Our neighbor's farm has a big compost pile, so I move some stuff around there, and I go over and stir the pile up every once in a while. And just other little odd jobs. And I really hate to get rid of it, but as I mentioned in my previous video, my goal is to be able to sell this and my John Deere 330 sitting in the shop there, and combine them or consolidate them into a John Deere 755 with a loader and a 60-inch mower deck that I can use for doing my lifting in and out of the shop and around the yard, and also do my lawn mowing with, because I feel like that would be a pretty decent sized tractor for both of those tasks. Not too big, but not too small. And the loaders on them have a decent amount of lift as well. So, like I said, I'm hoping I can maybe downsize a little bit here. So, the Ford 340A here is all ready to go. I have serviced it. I've gone over it. And, you know, I'll be honest with you guys. I've mentioned before in the walk-around video I did of it, it's not a peach by any means. It's 40 years old. It's got signs of wear and tear. A lot of these tractors were rode hard and put away wet. But I've gone over it. It served me very well for what I've needed. And you really can't get much more reliable than these old Ford 3-cylinder diesels. I've stressed their reliability time and time again. And the big thing to take into account here is that for what they're worth today, you're not going to be able to buy a 50 horsepower heavy duty, you know, utility tractor with a loader for anywhere near what I'm asking for this tractor, which is $5,500. And that's firm. Like I said, you know, you can go out and price out a new Kubota or a new John Deere 50 horsepower. You know, you're not going to be able to touch a brand new one for less than $25,000 to $30,000. That's just the way it is. And the Fords, you got to remember, they're built much heavier. They have a separate pump for the loader. The loaders have a heck of a lot of lift capacity. And the old 3-cylinder diesels are just dead reliable. I mean, this thing has sat out here in the freezing cold for the last week, and it'll start right up every time. You really can't beat that. And another plus, I guess, is there's no emissions equipment on it either, so it's less to go wrong. But so like I said, $5,500 will pick this tractor up. Not a peach by any means, but it'll work all day long, and it'll just sip fuel. So come take her home today. Here's some more parts I've accumulated here, hoping to find new homes for them. First up is a 38-inch mower deck from a Case garden tractor. This should fit the 200 series, like the 210, the 220, 222, 224, and so on and so forth. Needs a little bit of work. The front lip is crinkled in a little bit. I straightened it as best as I could, and it's got some rust holes, some pitting. I mean, it's not great. The spindles are not seized up either. They actually are loose, a little bit tight, just because the deck's sitting on the pulleys, but It'll clean up, I think. It'd be a good rough cut mower for somebody, or good restoration project. And I have the mule drive and undercarriage assembly for it as well. And I'd like to get 50 bucks for both of those. Up next is a 650 by 16 single front tire and wheel for a 2-cylinder John Deere or a new generation tractor. It's the same one you see on the front of the 520 here. It was a very common size, that 650 by 16 with the heavy cast iron wheel assembly. Super heavy. I'd say probably at least 100 pounds or so. I'd be curious to weigh it. But this came off of a John Deere 50 that was parted out, and it has the original diamond sidewall Goodyear tire, which seems to hold air. I mean, it's been sitting here for the last couple months, and I haven't had to air it up or nothing. These things are practically solid rubber. I mean, not really, but so that would be good if you have a tractor with original patina and you want to convert to a single front wheel, or you're looking for an original Goodyear tire. And these fit a lot of different tractors over the years, so this will work on pretty much any Waterloo built row crop tractor between 1947 and 1972-ish. I mean, it'll fit anything, you know, including the late styled A and B, 50, 60, 70, 520 through 730, you know, 2010, 3010, 4020, and so on and so forth. It's a pretty universal wheel, as long as you have the proper yoke. So I'd like to get 125 bucks for that. This next one might come as a shock to some of you, but I figure since my collection is evolving to include bigger and bigger equipment, I'd like to be at a point where I can go to a show and bring more than one farm tractor with me at a time. So it's time to upgrade to a trailer that can handle more than one at a time. So it's time to sell my my PJ buggy hauler trailer that I bought brand new 2 years ago. This is a B5 model, so it's 5-inch channel frame, extra wide 102-inch deck with the diamond plate all the way out to the end, plus the rub rail. It's got the diamond plate drive over fenders that are reinforced. These things are super sturdy. Never had an issue with them flexing. I mean, they're designed to hold a lot of weight. And it's got the 5,200 pound Dexter axles with the easy lube grease fittings, so it's a 10,000 pound gross rating. I had the spare tire mount added front and center, and I had 5 sets of D-ring tie downs added down both sides. Probably the defining feature of this trailer is the single piece fold down tailgate instead of the individual ramps that most guys order these trailers with. I ordered it that way just for ease of loading and unloading, and I'll tell you what, it is really nice not having to fold individual ramps down or have the slide out ramps, you know, that you have to mess with every time you want to load or unload something. Full, you know, lifetime warranty, of course, on the LED lights, electric brakes, obviously, good tires. I haven't pulled this trailer more than 2,000 miles. I mean, it's still basically like new. Right after I got it in 2021, I stained the deck boards with used engine oil to preserve them a little bit. And I mean, it needs good cleaning just because there's, you know, road grime on it, and it's been raining here the last couple days, but I'll get it cleaned up here. And I went to a PJ dealer, priced out a new one of these, and you're looking at about $8 grand for one, spec'd, you know, pretty much identical to this one. So I'd have to get $7 grand for this one. That's just the way it is. But it's a very heavy built trailer for what it is, and built very solid. So you could haul 6 garden tractors with it. You could haul 1, you know, farm tractor or 2 smaller utility tractors with it. Haul some 4-wheelers, you know, whatever you want really. Haul a car or a truck. So it's pretty versatile for what it is. It's not too big of a trailer, but it's also not the smallest little landscape trailer either. It's a good in-between, which is just what I wanted when I ordered it. So like I said, $7,000 will take this one home. Up next, I've got 3 pairs of 38-inch tractor tires on rims here. They're not perfect. They all need a little bit of work. These came off of tractors that were scrapped or salvaged. They're all 11 by 38 or 12.4 by 38. I think I have one in here that's also a 13.6 in the mix. There's a couple of mismatched pairs here. These would be good for putting on tractors that, you know, you just need to roll around the yard. I wouldn't use them for, you know, tractors that actually get worked, but they still have some life left in them. I think a couple of the tires could use some tubes, and, you know, for the age, you know, as to be expected, they've got cracks in the sidewall. In South Jersey, where I'm from, it wasn't unusual for farmers to use calcium in the rims, so you'll see a little bit of rot around the valve stem. Again, nothing too unusual. Those can be repaired. Like I said, they're all 38-inch. They're all mounted on double bevel rims, so they're correct for the older 2-cylinder tractors, the numbered series 2-cylinders. The rims won't work on like an A or a B, but anything newer than that should be just fine. These rims here, or these tires out here in the front, were the ones I had mounted on the 60 for a while just to roll it around. We've got a mix of Firestones in here. Here's a straight bar Goodyear. It's actually in pretty good shape, still got a lot of tread left. Another Firestone. So like I said, they all need a little bit of work. They've got some age and weather checking to them, obviously, but the rims can be repaired. I mean, a good rim repair shop will do that, or a good tire shop can do that. And a good set of tire tubes, and you'll have these things holding there just fine. So I'd like to get $300 a pair for any of these 3 sets. I mentioned in a previous video that I may have the John Deere 330 sold, so I'm not going to go into detail on that specifically. I've actually had 3 different people express interest in it, so at this point I would consider it sold already, but if those buyers back out, I'll let you guys know, of course, and it'll be back on the market. And the Farmall Super AV here, I'm actually kind of torn on what to do with this tractor. I've had to put a significant amount of work into it to get it up to snuff, a little more than I had anticipated when I first bought it. And it's shaped up to be a nice little tractor for shows or for cultivating the garden. But there were 2 conditions where I would sell this tractor. The first of them would be if somebody came up with my great-grandfather's or my grandfather's Super AVs, which were New Jersey tractors their whole lives. One was serial number 287595. And the other one was serial number 343729. So if anybody watching this video happens to own either one of those tractors, I would be interested in potentially trading this AV for either of those. The other condition would be if the right deal came along for a John Deere 40V or 420V 2-cylinder vegetable tractor, kind of a rare configuration, a rare collectible model. And I do know where a handful of both of those models are still sitting on farms in New Jersey. So if one of those comes up for sale for the right deal, I would be looking to let the Super AV go. And I mean, I can always find another one. There's tons of Super AVs and AVs sold in New Jersey, so I wouldn't be heartbroken if I had to let this one go. But like I said, first and foremost, I'd sell this, or I would trade this if somebody came up with one of my family's tractors. And then the second condition would be if a good deal came up on a 420V or a 40V. So we'll see what the next couple years bring, see what I can find, but I put some feelers out there. But if I had to sell this one outright, I would let it go for $3 grand as it sits. I also have a one bottom drawbar mounted plow for it, which is why the drawbar is turned around, and I have the rear cultivator arms for it as well. I just took them off so I could fit it in here. But I fixed a lot of the little quirks with this tractor, and it is ready to go to work or show. And it tells a story because it's got really nice original patina here. So I fixed a lot of the little issues with it, and starts right up and it's ready to go. So like I said, $3 grand would take this one home. Over here, I've got some extra cultivator parts that I got with the Farmall, the Super AV. These are pretty standard shanks and sweeps that fit a lot of the older Farmall tractors. Everything from the A to the Super A, the 140, the 130. Super C. A lot of these parts are interchangeable. I have a bunch of extra shanks, like I said, with different sweeps, different points on them. I think this one here is for potatoes. The points are all in pretty good shape for the most part. I mean, they obviously haven't been used in a long time. They sat in a barn for many years. They got some rust, but I wouldn't be afraid to mount them up on your tractor and use them. Got a couple of extra points and sweeps here as well. There's a couple different styles depending on what you're cultivating or what your soil's like. I've been thinking of maybe installing a couple of these on the Super AV, adding a couple more to the rear toolbar. I'm not really sure yet, but if anybody happens to need an extra set of cultivator shanks, let me know. I'd sell these for $100 for the whole set. Over here on the workbench, I have a 4-inch inlet and outlet MBRP stainless steel muffler for a diesel pickup truck. It's made of T304 stainless steel. It's out of the Armor Pro MBRP kit, which is the top of the line kit that you can buy for the older diesel trucks. It's dated 11 of 2021, as you can see there, so it's only a couple years old. I was going to install this on my 7.3 Power Stroke F250, but I decided to go a different route. And I've heard, just from talking to people who have run these systems, I've heard that they sound really, really good. And I know MBRP is a renowned, name for exhaust systems, especially for the diesel trucks. And being that it's T304 stainless steel, T304 is about as good as you can get. It doesn't corrode over time like T409 will. I've had plenty of headaches with T409 stainless on my old truck. So if you're going to go with a good exhaust system that you want to last a long time, T304 is the way to go. And this one also comes with 2 stainless clamps as well. So like I said, this is 4-inch inlet and 4-inch outlet. A lot of guys like to do 4-inch straight through to a 5-inch tailpipe. So this should fit the Power Stroke trucks. I would imagine it probably fits Cummins and Duramax trucks as well. It'll add a nice sound to your rig. So you got to figure the MBRP kits usually retail for a little over $1,000, at least last I checked. But this muffler here I'd let go for $125 if there's anybody interested. Back in the fall, I picked up a John Deere 316 Onin tractor for parts. The engine had broken a rod and it took out the piston skirt with it. It was a P-Series Onin. So I bought it not running and I stripped it all apart. I've sold a lot of the parts off of it already, but I have a lot of good parts left still. So I have the transaxle here. It's the Sunstrand pump mated to the Peerless differential. No rims or tires or anything with it, but it does come with the lug bolts and the brake linkages as well as the sight tube. And as far as I know, the tractor was running and driving and being used regularly up until the engine blew. So the transmission is assumed to be good. And I've stored it inside here, so it should clean up well and it should swap into any earlier model 316 Onin, 318, or 332. Basically anything up until 1988, I believe, because that's when they switched to a different swash plate arm here. They switched this piece out here. So if you have a 1987 or older 300 series open frame, this will swap right in. And I'd like to get $100 for this. Here's the rest of the parts from that 316 I parted out. What you see here is what I have left. I put a lot of the parts in this bin here, but I've got, there's all kinds of stuff in here. I got the hitch plate, I got the shock absorber for the hydro linkage, the transmission cross brace, rock shaft, steering shaft, battery box. Got the firewall piece here, and just a lot of stuff, like a lot of the electrical parts, the headlight wiring harness, the tail light, or reflectors, I should say. Dash panels. There's an extra mule drive. That's not the mule drive that came with this tractor, but it's one that would work. This would be good for parts or rebuild. It's got some slop. That's the earlier style mule drive that uses the round rods with the threaded yokes on the end instead of the flat plate that was used on the later models. These, I think, are a little bit better because the later models with the piece of steel plate for a yoke tended to break the welds. But it'll work on a 120, a 140, or any 300 series open or closed frame. Also have the fuel tank here. So, like I said, a lot of good parts. There's the front axle and steering pitman arm. And I had somebody buy one of the front wheels and tires. He didn't want both, just the one. So I have one of those left. It'd be good for a spare. So, if anybody's interested in anything you see here, let me know. Prices are going to vary, but just leave me a comment or send me a message or shoot me an email. I mentioned that 316 tractor I parted out had a blown engine, and that's not the only blown Onin engine I've got here. This is actually several years worth of accumulation. A couple years ago I had 2 engines, and they just started multiplying after that. So I have a pretty good hodgepodge of B and P series Onin engine parts here. These were all removed from John Deere garden tractors, so they all have the 1 7/16 inch crankshaft output. Like I said, pretty good mix of parts. There's some Bs, there's some Ps. I think I have 2 P-Series blocks here that were P218s. I have a couple of B43Gs. I have 1 B43E block. I have a B48G block, and just a whole random assortment of parts here. I have a couple of B and P-Series oil pans. I've sold most of the good ones already. I may have 1 or 2 good ones left. You can see flywheels. I have a whole assortment of B-Series flywheels here. I just sold my last P-Series flywheel last week. Have a bunch of shroud, tin work, air filter assemblies, crankcase breather assemblies. I just sold my last PTO clutch, but I do have an extra pulley and armature assembly for a 420 or 430 tractor if anybody's looking for one. I got cylinder heads, I got carburetors, I got intake manifolds, I got exhaust manifolds. I don't have any good B series starters at this time. The one you see here is a parts starter that I bought. This was supposed to be an OEM Onin replacement starter here that I got from an auto electric shop, but I didn't get more than 2 years out of it, and I just ended up using it for parts. That's why I tend to opt for rebuilding your original starter when you can instead of buying these aftermarket ones, because I'm convinced there is no good aftermarket starter for these engines. I have not been able to find a good one. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. If it's a machine you're using pretty frequently, you might as well just rebuild your original starter because it's going to be the most reliable. But anyway, like I said, I'm looking to downsize my hoard of parts here, so send me a message or leave a comment or send me an email with what you might need. A lot of good cores left. I've sold most of the pistons and rods out of these engines already, except for this one right here that was seized up, which means the pistons and rods probably aren't going to come out in one piece anyway. Just a lot of little, odds and ends and whatnot. I may have one or two good metal flyball spacers, but I'll have to check. I'm not sure. I've stripped most of these engines of their flyball spacers and cam assemblies already. But like I said, if anybody needs Onin engine parts, let me know, because I got them. Right here I have a good pair of 12 4x38 Goodyear straight bar 45-degree tires. I bought these at an auction. They're actually, I was intending to use them on the 60 to have a period correct restoration with the proper tires and everything. And they're in decent shape overall. I haven't looked up the date code to figure out what year they were made. They've got really, really good tread. I'd say probably 80% tread, 70-80% tread. As to be expected for the age, they've got dry cracking along the sidewalls. It's nothing a tube or some tire paint couldn't fix or cover up. But overall, for the age, I mean, at least compared to the tires I've got sitting out back there, these really are not in bad shape. I bought these, like I said, for the 60 restoration, and I'm not looking to sell them outright per se, but I would be interested in trading for a matching set or in similar condition of 13 6x38 Goodyear straight bar tires, if anybody happens to have a set. But they would have to be as nice as these ones here. I don't want any junk. So the 12 4x38s were an option for the 60, but 13 6s look a little bit better in my opinion. They look a little more beefy. So that's what I'd like to go with for my restoration. And like I said, if anybody happens to have a pair of the old school Goodyear 13 6x38s, in similar condition to these, I would be looking to trade, maybe add a little bit of extra cash coming from my end. So if anybody out there happens to have a good set and they'd be looking to trade, please let me know. But like I said, they're not for sale outright at this time. Over here I've got a Strongway tire changer. These can be bought from Harbor Freight. I think last I checked they were like 80 or 90 bucks. These are good for doing lawnmower, garden tractor, ATV tires, anything in a smaller size. I've used it once or twice. I've had this kit for about 5 or 6 years, and I only ever used it once. I just found it easier to go to a tire shop since I have one right down the street. And I had it mounted to my workbench. I mean, it installs with just 4 bolts. There's really nothing to it. And I've also seen some guys install these on their hitches for the back of their trucks. They do like to do them outside. It's in good shape. I mean, it's not missing any of the hardware or anything. It's got the tire iron and everything with it. It's all complete. Like I said, I don't hardly ever use it, and I'd like to see it go to a good home where it'll actually get used. I figured it's just easier for me to go to the tire shop down the street for the extra $10 and have them mount tires for me real quick. Like I said, last I checked, these are selling for about 90 bucks new, 80 or 90 bucks, I think. I'd let this one go for 50. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I have a couple other things here for sale, guys, that aren't in the shop. I have them in the house here, but I just wanted to go over them real quick, see if there might be any interest. This is more for the lawn and garden guys, I would say. First thing is a Simplicity power equipment binder that's filled with service bulletins for a lot of Briggs & Stratton engines. The binder says illustrated parts manual, but it's actually got a bunch of service bulletins in it. And as far as I can tell, they go back to 1986. It covers everything from the IC series up to the Intex, and looks to have a lot of good information in it. I mean, the binder is pretty rough for the age. I'd say it's probably from the late 70s, mid to late 70s, and it's held together with tape in a couple spots. But, I mean, it's a neat collector piece, and like I said, it has a lot of good information in there. And so for that, I'd like to get 40 bucks. Next thing is a Toro Consumer Products dealer catalog. I actually have 2 of these in their own Toro binders. The first one is from 1990 and 1991, and it contains service manuals for a lot of Toro lawn equipment like walk-behind mowers, snow throwers, lawn vacuums, and even some of the 2- and 4-stroke engines. A lot of good information here, and the binder's in good shape. The books are all in good shape. I'd say pretty close to new. Like I said, this is the first of 2 that I have, but this one I'd like to get $30 for. And the second one that I have here is the same binder. It's a Toro Consumer Products binder dated 1989 to 1990. And this one contains service manuals for a lot of different Lawn Boy and Gilson torpedo heaters, as well as some of the commercial Toro walk-behind mowers. So something a little bit different, kind of obscure. But the condition's about the same as the other one. The binder's almost like new. It'll clean right up. All of the pages look to be in good shape, and a lot of good material in there, especially if you're into some of the oddball stuff. So this one I'd also like to get $30 for. Not sure if I have any Kubota fans out there, but the next item is a Kubota service bulletin binder, and it actually contains a lot of flat rate charts and manuals for several different models of Kubota equipment that were being built back in the late 80s, like 1988, 89 or so. So it includes the setup and the service rates for some of the G-Series lawn and garden tractors like your G1700, 18, 19, 2000 series. Some of the earlier L-Series, M-Series tractors like the M7500 and M8950, and all of the models of mower decks and attachments that go with those as well. Everything seems to be in pretty good shape overall. It's a pretty hefty binder, and it's a neat collector piece if you're into the older Kubota stuff. Probably pretty obscure these days, I would say. This one I'd like to get $30 for. I have a 1976 Gravely 800 series riding tractors parts list or parts book here. This one's a bit small, but it's listed as covering models 21441 through 21445. Not sure if I have any Gravely guys out there. May have a tractor that this book would fit. But like I said, it's dated 1976. It looks to be in pretty good condition overall. It's got a lot of parts breakdowns, parts diagrams for the transmissions and whatnot. This one I would like to get $20 for. I also have an owner's manual for a Massey Ferguson number 21 rear grader blade or multi-purpose blade. This is dated November 1957, and it even has the Massey Harris Ferguson trademark and name on it in a couple different spots. And it's not a very long brochure. I mean, it's got a lot of good information in it as far as terracing and adjustments and settings and things like that. It has a couple of good black and white photos as well. And a neat little piece to have if you're a Massey Ferguson or a Massey Harris collector even, or you just like the Ferguson tractors, because there's plenty of them pictured in here. Like I said, not many pages. The center binding is starting to come apart around the staples. The outside cover, the front and back cover are okay, but some of the pages inside are separated. And this one I would let go for $10. This last one is the newest of all of them. It is a 2003 John Deere commercial lawn, garden, turf, and construction equipment sales manual for dealerships, like a product information bulletin. And it's got a couple hundred pages, I would say. I haven't actually taken it out of the plastic to see, but it's pretty thick. There's a lot of information in it. But it covers all kinds of equipment from the 777 series Z-Track mowers, 1545 front mount mowers, some of the early 7-iron decks, the 2210 compact tractor, backhoe attachments, loader attachments, 54 and 62-inch mower decks, a lot of the rotary cutters like the LX series rotary cutters, tillers, the 110 tractor loader backhoes, the 51, 52, and 5303 series tractors, some of the HX15, HX20, CX20 flex wing or batwing mowers, flexiplanters, all kinds of different stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there that was new for 2003, and a lot of models that were being phased out for that time as well. So looks to be a lot of good information, some obscure stuff again. But again, this was from a John Deere dealership, never opened, still wrapped in the plastic. A lot of good information here. Be good to put in a binder. So for that, I'd like to get $40. I spent the last year or so downsizing my collection of John Deere 1/16th scale diecast models. I used to collect a lot of the 2-cylinder diecast models in 1/16th scale, and I'm actually down to my last one now, at least the last one that I want to get rid of. So this one is a Model A tractor with man. It's an early styled model, so early 40s, early to mid 40s. And This is the 2003 Toy of the Century edition made by Ertl, die-cast, like I said, and there were 4 different versions of this toy made. There was one made in the 50s, there was another one made in the 80s, and then there were 2 versions made in 2003, one that was green and one that was gold. And this is the green version. I have had it out of the box just for display. It was never played with, never used for anything, just sat on a shelf. It's been in storage the last couple years, ever since I moved away from home, and I'm just looking to send it off to a good home now. These are pretty collectible. The late model, or the later version of this particular toy, you don't see many of, but I think it's a great piece for any collection. Comes with the original box, obviously, as you can see in the pictures, and it's in great unplayed shape. So, if anybody interested, I'd sell it for 25 bucks. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this video and for this year as well. It's hard to believe another year has come and gone, but as always, I'm very thankful and very appreciative of your support year in and year out. I mean, I really, can't thank you enough for all the comments, all the views, all the likes, all the subscriptions. I know I'm not putting out content like I used to. That's just because, life has gotten a lot more busy, but I do appreciate you guys hanging in there and staying with me through it all, through all the changes, all the, the many things that have come and gone in and out of this garage, and the places I've traveled. I appreciate you guys being with me every step of the way, and for the friends that I've made through the hobby as well. Hopefully by this time next year we'll have made a significant amount of progress on reassembling the 60. I've almost met my goal of having it completely disassembled by the end of 2023. The only thing I'm still working on are the rear axles, trying to get them. Well, I have the one out, but I need to get the wheel off of that one and get the axle out of the housing there. Then we can start cleaning everything up and degreasing and prepping for paint and reassembly. So, if I can get a John Deere 755 here within the next couple months, that would be ideal. That way I can free up some space, get rid of the 340A and get rid of the 330 and have one machine to do all my mowing and my heavy lifting. So if anybody wants to trade that 340A for a 755 with a loader and a mower deck, please let me know. See what's out there. But anyway, I wanted to thank you guys again for watching. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next year.